Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Bryan podcast, episode 192 today. Aviation news headlines this week. Boeing CEO grilled over safety concerns in Senate. A passenger uses an AirTag to find lost luggage. An officer steals $18,700 worth of goods from private jet passengers. High-end luggage theft at Hong Kong. Ex-Love Island star criticizes Emirates over nut allergy. Air Canada pilots demand a pay increase. Blue Angels documentary, climate activists, and Joby's Aviation air taxi software gets FAA approval. Hi, pal.
How's it, cuz? Just another day in paradise.
Friday, bro. Living the dream. Should we jump into it? Boeing CEO was in a bit of hot water the other day. I don't know if you watched all the videos. Appeared before Senate and basically got grilled. The hearing focused on various safety lapses, including the January incident where a door panel blew out. We all remember that. And broader concerns about Boeing's safety culture and manufacturing practices. Lawmakers criticized Boeing for prioritizing profits over safety and failing to implement promised safety reforms following the 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019. Can you believe it was that long ago already? And 346 people, of course, killed in those accidents. New whistleblower claims were presented alleging that Boeing improperly documented and stored damaged parts and retaliated against employees who raised safety concerns. One whistleblower accused Boeing of hiding non-conforming parts from FAA inspectors. Calhoun acknowledged the company's past mistakes and apologized to the families of the 737 MAX crash victims. He defended Boeing's efforts to improve safety and quality, stating that the company is taking comprehensive actions to address these issues. The Justice Department is considering prosecuting Boeing for violating 2021 settlement related to those MAX crashes. Calhoun announced his retirement by the end of the year, and the selection of a new CEO will be crucial to Boeing's future direction. The company has faced significant management changes, including the resignation of its head of commercial aircraft division. Who do you think is going to take that spot?
Jeez, I don't know. Someone have to have thick skin and big brassy balls to take over that position and try and resurrect that reputation. But
I think it's going to be, they're obviously going to look at someone with a strong engineering background. I don't think they're going to put a banker in there. It's going to be, they're going to have to focus on engineering for the next few years. There was a list of about 10 possible people that could take that role. None of them with names like stuck out that, wow, but it'll be interesting nonetheless. Let's just chat about it for a bit. It's a major talking point in aviation, not just this week, but it's been going on, and we've spoken about it on the podcast I don't know how many times. It's a major story, and we find today Boeing a shadow of its former self. They're not really competing with Airbus at this stage. Whoever they put in there and the management team and the big C-suite team are going to have to, not only right the ship and stop it from sinking, but actually take the company back to a point where it can actually compete again with Airbus, because where they are today, they seem to be losing more and more market share every month, and it's not going to come right overnight. This is a bit of a long-term strategy.
Yeah, the airlines and operators, need to, at some point, regain some confidence in the brand, and it's going to influence things for many years to come in terms of, fleet choices, because, when you invest in the fleet, you're in it for the long haul, so to speak, and, Boeing don't want to be losing out on that, so.
Yeah, that's the point. We saw it with, who recently sort of stopped the order? Was it...
one of the
Saudi, Riyadh.
Yeah.
So you're going to see more and more of that. And like you say, you make a decision today for the next 10 years, but you can't make a decision with Boeing today with a huge amount of confidence. So
exactly.
Yeah.
If you have shares in Apple, though, things are always
smiling.
looking good there. Particularly since one of their best inventions would be the Apple AirTag.
Yeah.
Where an American Airlines passenger used an Apple AirTag to locate her lost luggage from a flight at a homeless encampment in Burbank, in other words, a township. The airline took 5 days to find her bag, and although she retrieved some items, she lost valuables worth $6,000. It's about
300 million rand.
Yeah. An American Airlines offered her $1,700 compensation, and is investigating the incident. I think the airlines are just they're fobbing it off. Most people have AirTags in their bags now. Just go and find your own luggage.
Yeah, so it ended up in a squatter camp in Burbank, but at least she found a bag. What I find with the AirTag, it's sometimes, obviously it's relying on a cell phone signal. So when I use it now in Paris, I don't know if it's because there's just so many AirTags now or whatever it is, but
wasn't as reliable.
That's reliable, but it kind of works against you in a lot of ways, because you're on the plane and now you've lost, you don't have cell phone signal anymore. So you think, hey, let me just check my bags on the plane. But of course you check it and my bag's still at OR there and counter number 5. So you start stressing a little bit, but it's actually, it doesn't seem to upload as quickly as it did at the beginning. I don't know if that's just me or user error or whatever, but and then of course when you arrive wherever you are, you kind of check, is my bag here? But no indication until it actually gets really close to you on the carousel and there's your bag.
I think they said it relies on NFC, near field communication or something like that. So it takes a whole lot of signals to bounce off.
Yeah.
Maybe it just takes a while to activate. But
it's a hell of a useful thing, and I highly recommend you chuck one of those in your bag, your carry-on bag as well.
Yeah,
because it's such a schlep if that stuff goes missing.
That's for sure.
An officer, U.S. Customs and Border Protection officer, pleaded guilty to stealing $18,700 US from private jet passengers at Naples Airport in Florida. He faces up to 10 years in prison. Surveillance footage confirmed the theft, leading to his resignation and a plea deal requiring, So this guy, I think, he actually bullied the passengers into...
You're paying like extra taxes.
Yeah, give me this. You can't bring that into the country.
Oh, shame,
I wonder
man.
how often that happens, though.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's probably a little bit unusual for them to see that in the US, but in Africa, that's a daily occurrence.
You get used to it.
But on the thread of theft, you see at Hong Kong, police arrested 2 23-year-old suspects for allegedly stealing high-end luggage worth 1.1 million Hong Kong dollars.
Yeah.
From the airport there. The theft occurred on the 4th of June. Security footage showed the suspects loitering near the baggage carousel. They were caught on Saturday attempting to leave Hong Kong, and police retrieved the stolen goods and linked the suspects to a similar February theft. So these guys are actually zicking luggage
syndicate
off of the carousel now.
Yep. Does that? Do you think that's a new thing? You know, when an airline loses your bag, you know, there was another one. Moaning passenger on Fly Africa again this morning. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't see that one.
The dude's bag got damaged on a Safir flight, I think. So major blame on Fly Safir, but of course we know fuck all to do with Safir. But I wonder how a bag goes missing and we just take it that, okay, my bag's lost. It got lost between my departure and destination. Does it get zicked off the carousel?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't put it past, you know, these guys actually flew to Hong Kong to steal these high-end bags. And they know what they're looking at. If you got a Gucci bag going around the carousel, and I bet there's a few high-end items in there worth a hell of a lot of money. But Hong Kong being Hong Kong, they saw these guys, they knew these guys, they knew they were still in the country. They waited till they got to the airport, nabbed them.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hit and miss and a gamble that, you know, if you're in that game, because, you know, imagine how you steal this bag with the expectation that you're going to find some high-end, high-value contents in there, and then when you get to your spot, you open it up and there's just a bag full of grimy undies.
Yeah. Yeah, but I suppose I think it's targeted. Remember on Spurries a few years ago, version 1, there was a syndicate there were passengers that buy tickets on the aircraft. They sit there on the aircraft long haul.
Yeah.
At night,
They zick
they zick your stuff
overhead.
out the overhead.
Yeah.
I wonder if that goes on. I'm always weird. I hate it if you come and you're late on the flight and then you think there's no space for my bag.
Yeah.
Now the hostess says, "Don't worry, there's a space 30 rows behind you."
That always made me nervous.
It always makes I don't like it, and then you never know. Maybe perfect opportunity, because what do people put in their carry-on? All their valuables,
laptops, cameras,
everything.
Passports, wads of cash.
So luggage theft, a major problem, not only here, around the world. Jack Fowler, a former Love Island contestant, criticized Emirates after an in-flight meal containing cashews triggered his severe nut allergy. Despite informing the cabin crew about his allergy, he was assured the meal was nut-free. He condemned Emirates' negligence on Instagram, of all places, highlighting their failures to ensure passenger safety. Emirates acknowledged the incident, but emphasized their inability to guarantee a nut-free environment. This sounds like a bit of a nut.
Yeah, Jack Fowler sounds like a type of guy that doesn't eat nuts in his food, but he'll take it otherwise.
Yeah.
Moving on.
It's always, but it's following our social media trend, I suppose. There's no complaints via the formal channels.
Yeah. They all run to the Insta Greasy and the X and
he nearly died.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had a EpiPen or whatever he needs. Anyway,
nerds.
Air Canada. They're demanding a pay increase in line with what the Americans are earning. Fair, not fair? What do you think?
No, I think it's fair.
You reckon?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just as hard, if not harder, to fly around Canada, because it's way fucking colder and there's bigger mountains there and there's Canadians. So you've
well, yeah, but I mean, are we being paid now via how hectic the flying is, or is it based on your skill set, how valuable it is? Because I mean, there's a lot of places in Africa that difficult to fly around. You're not seeing those pay hikes there.
No.
These pay increases. Okay, let's rephrase. Are these pay increases and the sort of new wave that the pilots are riding around the world in terms of what you can possibly earn? And let's take the Middle Eastern carriers aside, like Emirates, that have done well lately with bonuses and things like that. Take bonuses out the picture.
Yeah.
But salary-wise, I know we speak a lot about it, but it still seems to be very, narrow and focused on the states that have the particularly like regional pilots. The salaries have gone up nicely, but around the world, I don't think there's been a massive hike in salaries, and maybe there has been a hike since starting up again after the pandemic, but it's not.
No, it hasn't been to the extent that you see in the States. I mean, certainly not here in South Africa, that's for sure.
No, but it's not near in South Africa. I mean, the biggest paying airline in South Africa was South African Airways. I mean, those pilots there at SA are now earning
50% of
50%, yeah. So, and I don't think those are going to shoot up too quickly. Obviously, that was the highest paying.
But to answer your original question, are the Canadian pilots being, whingy or not? I don't think so. I think they deserved. I mean, they're going to start this whole thing that will set the wheels in motion for fair pay wages around the world
going forward. Yeah. There's a documentary on Prime. Have you watched that Blue Angels?
I haven't had a chance yet to sit down and watch the full thing. I've watched the trailer, but I
don't know if this article here is the same, because it says a documentary about the US Navy flight team, Blue Angels. It was in theaters in May 2024. So if it was in theaters, is it the same one that I'm talking about that's on Amazon Prime?
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because it's quite a cool documentary.
Yeah.
It actually is. I've watched a couple of them, and it's actually nicely done. and well worth it on the weekend if you get a gap. It is on Amazon Prime, and it's done really well overseas.
Those things are pretty cool because it's a lot like those Drive to Survive series. It's going to attract more youngsters to aviation, a lot like Top Gun did back in the early 80s.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. The photography's good, and to see what these guys actually go through and how few of them have actually been in the whole Blue Angels history. But it's a real privilege to be given that opportunity. And they switch up the team every now and again, but it's a real Navy-driven sort of job that you have, and it's actually quite cool. Well worth the watch.
This one I saw, and Mac came to the top of my mind when the story popped up. See, on the 20th of June, these idiots, the Just Stop Oil activists, Jennifer Kowalski and another Minger, vandalized some private jets at London Stansted Airport, demanding an end to fossil fuels by 2030. They're spray painting jets again with orange paint. What are they doing? At least they were arrested for criminal damage. And apparently the big news was that Taylor Swift's private jet was
it
in the vicinity.
It was in the vicinity.
Yeah.
It wasn't there.
I mean, I don't give a shit about Taylor Swift's jet, but I mean the fact that they're going and spraying
it has to
very
stop.
Expensive
It
equipment.
just has to stop. It's just was a sign of the times for a long time. I think we're seeing a shift around the world now. That people have less. What's the right word I'm looking for? People don't have time for this nonsense anymore. And I think there was a period where we kind of all went, okay, well, sign of the times, I guess is the right word. But I think enough is enough. My favorite videos are the ones on the reels and that you see when these Just Stop Oil morons are in a road, blocking. And it's always this sort of rather unhealthy, podgy looking, mid-40s woman type thing, and scrawny little, husband friend there. And these cars, some of the oaks they don't give a shit. They just drive. They just drive, and they knock, and they're all, holding themselves. It's just pathetic. And but the airports as well must get a grip. If these big FBOs, where you pay a fortune to have your aircraft housed overnight, and they need to get some proper South African security there. There's a few, some cap security here from Joey's will do well there at these big FBOs overseas.
They won't let them anywhere near the aircraft because they're very good at putting these cones in the way. So you have this massive electric gate, and they won't be able to get past that orange cone that they put in front of you.
No, it's just crazy. It just has to stop, and enough is enough. They must just wind their necks in and bugger off because it's just pathetic.
Ed Zachary.
They actually posted it on LinkedIn. They've got a picture of this proud, podgy woman that spray painted this beautiful jet.
Yeah,
and I mean that chick had consumed enough oil in her career. I mean, to be that size, sift, man. More oil in her hair than in one of those Dallas oil fields. Joby Aviation receives FAA approval for its Elevate OS software, essential for launching eVTOL air taxi services next year. The software facilitates on-demand flights similar to ride-sharing apps. This is actually pretty cool. It's like your Uber app, but for these flights. And Ryan, it is happening. The California-based startup is expanding now to Dubai and partnering with Delta Airlines for home-to-airport flights in New York and LA. So this setup is pretty cool. I think for obviously certain tickets that you buy, I assume probably the upper echelon tickets there on in your first class cabins and possibly business class as well. You can sort of get a bit of an add-on service to be picked up by your air taxi, which will take you straight to the sort of relevant gate. There was even talk of you can actually do your physical part of the rest of the check-in. And I don't know if it mentions something about your sort of electronic immigration exercise that you go through these days. You can possibly do that as on journey, and it'll take you right there. You get off, and then you, of course, into the lounge, into the aircraft. So no traffic on the way. And when you think the places that are mentioned there, Los Angeles traffic is absolutely horrendous. So if there's services like that, there's, evidence to say why they're starting there. But if you can do anything to avoid LA traffic, you will. And this is Delta's answer to mitigating that.
You were showing me a video the other day of these autonomous air taxis that are flying around in China.
Yeah.
Completely autonomous.
Completely autonomous, and that wasn't a fake video. A lot of these things you watch these days, you think, is it real? It could just be CGI, but that's real. They're autonomous air taxis, and they're flying. There was a whole bunch of them flying. So this is actually here, and it's here to stay for a while, and it is interesting to watch, and I think. Yeah, we did say that Joby, if you I'm not, maybe our financial advice is, hey?
Let us know how those shares start looking.
Yeah, exactly. I think those shares might be styling in a few months' time.
You know what's cool for oaks that are our age, though, is, when we were growing up in the 80s,
like
90s.
20-year-olds, you mean?
Yeah. In our heads. But you remember the movies like Back to the Future, and then there was that documentary, or not documentary, it was a program called Beyond 2000, where they used to showcase all this kind of stuff and what the future will be like. And now you're actually seeing this actually happening, where it used to seem so far-fetched. It's kind of crazy, yeah.
It's actually amazing that there's you say like Back to the Future, these types of things, and they're far-fetched at the time. Now you look and you look it back and you say, well, they weren't actually ambitious enough in their predictions, because the stuff we're seeing today, you wouldn't have even thought about 10 years ago.
Yeah, look, just technology's evolved faster than I think anyone could have expected. So, yeah, interesting times, man.
Special shout out to Kim Macaulay, wife of Bryan Hall of Famer Al Macaulay, who's doing wonders overseas. And she was part of a panel speaking about one of the most interesting topics, certainly to us, and I think to the world in general at the moment, is AI. Oh. We're going to save what was spoken about there for a totally separate show, because it's a major, major topic and something we'd like to deep dive into. It's certainly something that we particularly interested in, and not just from an aviation point of view, but just in general. This is the next big financial revolution. Is going to be AI. It's here with us. It's here to stay. And how are you dealing with it? How are you living with it? Are you using it, or is it using you? So you're going to hear a lot more about that in the coming weeks and months, and you'll even see a whole new division of Bryan Air shortly aimed in that direction. But shout out to Kim and Al, well done. It's so awesome to see Kimmy doing so well and representing South Africa with fire there.
Yeah, well done, Kim. It was a sterling interview with a lot of great gen, and I think, like you said, it's right up our alley in terms of AI and how it's going to impact the aviation industry as well. It's very exciting to see, and
we'll keep
awesome
an eye on
to
it.
be represented by South Africans on a world stage event like that as well.
There's Formula One this weekend. It's in Spain. Traditionally a somewhat boring race, but it's so much closer now, so I think it could be cool.
Yeah.
And then there's a Austrian Grand Prix the week after. But we'll be back next week with another 3 episodes, I think we planned for next week. So as soon as the news pops, if you want it, this is the place you're going to get it. Please like, subscribe, share this podcast with whoever you know. It'll help a hell of a lot. Thank you for your support. Have a lovely weekend ahead, and goodbye for now.
Cheers.